Have you received a word from God? Something that you knew God was speaking to you, and has it not yet come to pass? Well, today we're going to talk about the destination or the journey, or both. Coming up here in just a minute. Hi, I'm Patrick Eckler, God's Runner. I hope you find today's video encouraging and uplifting and bringing glory to God. If you do, consider hitting the like button to let us know that you enjoyed this video. Also, consider hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell icon to be notified of future videos and content posted to this channel. So, the biggest question that I get asked, at least in some form, is, are you running yet? Or why aren't you running yet? Or when are you going to run? Or something along those lines. And the answer that I have is very simple. I'm going to run when God tells me that I'm ready to run. Between now and then, it's all about, so that's the destination, is to run, right? And I believe that's going to be probably like a 5K somewhere at some point. There's going to be a pivotal moment when I know I've achieved the initial part of what God told me to do. I think running is going to become a lifestyle. I don't think it's going to stop there, but that's definitely a destination or a waypoint or a pit stop along the way. But between now and that point, and any future point, is the journey that I'm on. And I've really learned lately that God is, well, he's probably even more interested in the journey than he is the end destination. And let me tell you some things that's made me realize that. Things that God has been doing to me, with me, around me, in me, to me, on this journey that I've been on that will lead to running and beyond, right? So sit up. I just want to testify to God, talk about how great he is and how awesome he is, about some of the cool things he's done. So one of the other videos that I talked about, from the thorn to the rose, if you haven't seen that one, go check that out. That's a huge miracle that God did in this journey, okay? I'll put a link in the description below. But also one of the other cool things that's happened is I used to be on a medicine. So I have diabetes. And with diabetes, I got this thing called neuropathy. Neuropathy means that there's nerve damage in your feet due to the way diabetes messes with your system, especially your extremities, like your toes, your feet, sometimes your fingertips. And you lose sensation. And that would be okay if it just went, if it just went numb. Well, okay, so I can't feel. But what comes with neuropathy is kind of this weird, this weird thing where you can't feel your feet except for when it wants to have this shooting pain going through it, because it's the nerves that are damaged that are causing problems, and it's intense. I mean, the pain's intense. It may not last very long, and sometimes it does, but it's intense, and it is really difficult to deal with sometimes, especially if it happens in the middle of something going on. You can lose your concentration. Coupled with that, you get this sensation of you have to itch, like I want to itch, but it's not on the surface. It feels like it's under the skin somewhere. Like if I could peel back multiple layers of my skin, I could get to the spot that's actually itching. That's another sign of the nerve damage that comes with neuropathy and diabetes. Well, to help combat that, there's a couple of different drugs. The one that I was on, because I had some nasty side effects with other ones, was a drug called Lyrica, or I can't even pronounce their generic version of it, but Lyrica would block all of that. So it got to a point where basically from like my ankle forward, I couldn't feel anything. I lost sensation due to another drug side effect. I've lost sensation in my fingertips. At one point, I couldn't even feel my hands. That's why we had to stop that other drug. But it blocks so that it can't give me that itching sensation. It can't give me those shoots of pain, like lightning going through my feet. So I was on that for a long time. It took a while to get onto it because we had to try some other drugs, and I was onto it. Or I was on it. Well, back in I think it was November. Remember, God spoke to me to run on September 26th. And we started exercising January 3rd. In the middle, we were prepping during that time frame, finding out what kind of diet we should have, how we should go about exercising, how should we start. And somewhere in November, towards the end, I think it was actually after Thanksgiving, but it was around that time frame, God spoke to me and he said, come off the Lyrica. Okay. I'm going to come off, and I'm telling the Lord, I'm going to come off the Lyrica because I know that you've spoken to me, but you're going to have to show up because that hurt. And that itching sensation was driving me up a wall. It was absolutely nuts. So I went ahead and stopped. And a couple days went by, nothing, no pain, no nothing. Another couple of days went by, nothing, no pain, no nothing. Another couple of days went by, nothing, no pain, no nothing. And then I accidentally stepped on a tack. One of our rugs has this tack that sticks up. We have to keep hammering it down. I accidentally stepped on it and got a cut, and I felt it. Now, I hadn't felt my toes before I went on Lyrica. Once I was on Lyrica, I stopped feeling most of my feet up through my ankles. Now I'm off Lyrica, and I think at this point I was off like 3-4 weeks, something like that. And I feel the cut on my toe. I wasn't able to do that before. And the doctors say that nerve damage, it doesn't come back because you've got diabetes and neuropathy. It stays damaged. I know nerves can grow back, but in this case, because this keeps it broken, it won't get healed. But God was healing my feet. They're not perfectly healed, but he was healing them. Coming out of the Lyrica, took that out. That was one way. During the journey, he has done some cool things. Another example, I have allergies, or maybe I had allergies. I actually think I still have them, but deal with them differently. And I used to be on like Claritin twice a day. Then I would build up an immunity to that. Would have to go to Allegra for a while, like 3 to 6 months. Then I built up an immunity to that. We went to Zysville. I was on that for a while. And I built up an immunity to that, and I was having a lot of trouble breathing. On top of that, I was using Afrin nasal spray up to 4 times a day. Every day. I know you're supposed to only use it for a certain period of time and be off of it, but I'd be using it day after day after day. And I still had trouble breathing. All of that, and I still had trouble breathing. God spoke to me second week in December and said, stop. Well, actually, right before that, he said, start using the neti pot. That pot where you connect it to your nose and you tilt and the water goes in through your sinuses and out. So start using that every day. So I did. And at first it wouldn't even go through, right? I mean, it was a week before it finally actually started flowing through. And then about that time frame when it finally started flowing through, he said, stop the allergy medicine, stop the nasal spray. Well, okay, Lord, but I'm a little concerned I'm going to be able to breathe, right? I mean, and here's what I'm thinking, right? If I'm going to be a runner, I need to be able to breathe. And I have trouble breathing with all this extra help. How am I going to breathe without it? Right? I'm talking to the Lord. How am I going to breathe like he doesn't know, right? So he tells me to come off of it. And literally for like the first, 4 or 5 days, everything got stuffed up. I mean, like I had to breathe through my mouth, and I have trouble sleeping when I had to breathe through my mouth, and it was terrible for those first couple of days. And then, like a cork came out, I started being able to breathe. I was using the neti pot every day, still use the neti pot every day. Sometimes I use it twice a day, depending. And I was able to breathe better than I had breathed before coming off of the allergy medicine. And it was very, very interesting to me because, remember I said, how am I going to breathe? If I'm going to run, I'm going to have to be able to breathe. And I've always had trouble trying to breathe through my nose, out through my mouth, all that stuff. Partly because I had a deviated septum, my nose was messed up. And they had fixed that about 20 years ago. But I have never really gotten back into trying to run or anything like that. So that was always a hitch in my giddy up. Well, once the allergies really started taking effect, I was just like, well, the only way I'm ever going to be able to breathe is all this extra equipment, the pills, the nasal spray, possibly even more. I was actually even thinking that maybe I'd have to use the neti pot on top of that. Instead, God took that all away. I used the neti pot, but just the neti pot. And every now and then there's a little something, but for the most part, I'm breathing fine. The water flows through. I can get all this stuff out in the morning. Sometimes I do it in the evening as well. And I'm breathing better than I have before. Part of the journey. Then January 3rd comes around. And for the first 4 weeks, we began exercising my feet didn't have any problems. No, actually it was 6 weeks. For the first 6 weeks, not a single cut, not a single blister, not a single problem. And I was amazed. Well, again, back in December, God told me to start lotioning my feet every morning. Use Jergensen's extra healing lotion on my feet every day. Didn't think anything of it other than it's odd. I don't like the feeling of lotion on my hands, but I was like, okay, Lord, you're telling me to do this. I'm going to do it. Well, we go 6 weeks in of exercising, and I don't have a single problem on my feet. Not one blister, not one problem, not one anything. Nothing. It's all fine, which is totally unusual because, as I mentioned in other videos, if I had walked for 10 to 15 minutes, I had blisters in the past. Here I come, and I'm walking I'm doing some form of exercise every day. Most of the time included walking, or at least included my feet. I was doing the 4-3-2-1 fitness from Coach Sean Foy, and a lot of times that included feet stuff, whether it be marching in place, jogging in place, or chair jogging in place. You're still using your feet, and eventually jumping jacks and stuff. All of that using my feet, and not a problem. Then Snowvid hit, and that's where we had the big deal where here in Texas, it dropped really, really cold. The electricity went out almost everywhere because it overloaded the system. And of course, with no heat, obviously we lost power here for 2 days. Lots of other people lost power. Lots of them had damage due to burst water pipes and all kinds of stuff. We were very fortunate. We only lost power for 2 days. During that time frame, we went and stayed with my daughters in Denton, and we wound up being up there for 3 days. And then, the couple of days of being cold, we wound up not exercising for like 5-6 days. During that time frame, I stopped lotioning my feet because it was cold. I mean, especially those first 2 days, it was super, super, super cold. So I stopped lotioning my feet. When we began exercising back, I noticed my feet were more stiff, and it wasn't even 3 days in and I had a blister on my feet. I went back to lotioning my feet, and that blister healed up extremely fast. But I learned that whatever was happening with me lotioning my feet I thought maybe it was an obedience thing, but again, it was part of the journey because God was prepping my feet to be able to walk. Now, since then, I've had a couple of blisters show up and go away, show up and go away. I know it's just the enemy attacking because I went 6 weeks without anything. And they're just healing up. They just heal right up. Even my foot doctor is like, wow, you're just healing up, which is great because in the past it wouldn't. They would sit there forever. And then on top of that, we'd have to worry about blisters coming in. I mean, not blisters, infected blisters, which means loss of toes. None of that is happening. This is part of the journey. And these are just a couple of things. There are plenty and plenty and plenty more ways that God is meeting me in the journey, touching me in the journey, speaking to me in the journey, and doing cool little miraculous things throughout the journey. And just excited about all of it. And it's really amazing on how God is I really believe he's more interested in the journey than he is the destination. He is totally excited and can't wait for me to get to running, to get to that point where I do a 5K or whatever, but he is so super invested in my journey, in every little bit here, little bit there. I mean, he has me lotioning my hands now too, so I guess they were dry. I'm not really even sure what that's for, but I know it's something important because just like my feet, it's protecting me somehow, even if it's just for obedience. It's something in the journey, and it's exciting. I don't know what God's spoken to you, and I don't know when it's going to come true. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you, enjoy the journey. God told us to run. We spent like 100 days prepping. We're now at 100 and something days of exercise, and it's been exciting and powerful, and God continues to be in the minutia of the journey. He's in every step, every inch, every act, every word, everything. He's in it all, and I can just sense his excitement around it as we're going through this journey together. So I can guarantee to you that God is as interested in your journey as he is in mine. I don't know what your journey is. I don't know what he's doing in it. I don't know where he's touching and what he's doing and what he's speaking, but I know He is invested in your journey just like he's invested in mine. He is so tickled pink about walking you from where you're at through whatever cool things he has in store, all the way to whatever it is he spoke to you that would happen and beyond. And who knows what the great beyond is. And I'm not even talking about getting to heaven beyond. I'm talking about just for me, I go run a 5K and then maybe I run a 10K down the road. And then maybe, I don't know, I run a marathon or something. I don't know, but what I do know is that God's in the journey and he's walking me through it. And we're going to get there, and it's going to be an amazing time. I believe all of heaven's going to be rejoicing because I'm achieving something God spoke to me, and it's going to be amazing. Just like in your journey, keep walking it out. Keep being excited about it. Doesn't matter how small it is. Doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. Doesn't matter how long you have to be in the journey. Be excited about it. Be filled with joy about the fact that God's in the middle of it and loving. He's looking down and smiling on you. That's what he's doing. In fact, he might be dancing over you, right? But be as excited for the journey as you are for the destination. And trust me, God will bless that as you go. Hey, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, consider not just liking it and subscribing like I mentioned earlier, but consider sharing it on all your different social media platforms with your friends and your family, co-workers, maybe people you meet at the grocery store, whatever. Otherwise, until next time, thanks for watching.